Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to another class of Digital Skillup Africa um, Project Management as a course. My name is Nancy Baba Ali. Alongside with me is my co-facilitator, Mr. Kingsley Adiole, and my amazing team members, Ife and Oisa. So welcome to class again. Um, yeah, welcome to class. Welcome, Stephen. Oh, Mr. Kingsley, welcome, Stephen. We are in class now. We're both in class. Welcome, Chooks. Welcome to class. Welcome, Ahai. Welcome, Ijai. Welcome. So, so the last class was on Tuesday. Hi, Tobilova. Welcome to class. Hi, Pisayo. Welcome to class. Hello, Muna. So yes, our last class was on Tuesday, and we had an interesting class due to the fact that we had some problems with communication, even though our topic was communication barriers. We actually had a first-hand experience of what communication barriers is. So, without even me going back to do a little recap, how about I get pointers from what you also learned from the last class? I am interested to know what you took home and how today's class will be. Ngozi. So, good evening, Stella. Welcome to class. Okay, said conflict resolution and communication barrier. Thank you so much. So, what did you pick from conflict resolution and communication barriers? Resolution and communication plan is the thing that Alexander is saying. Akinyemi said, expanded my knowledge about conflict resolution and communication barrier. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, Oluwole said, I was able to learn about communication, how it is the key in project management. Thank you. Oluwafunmilayo said, communication barriers plays a role in conflict resolution. Okay. Roland Beauty said, good evening. Oh, good evening, Roland. How was your day? I hope it wasn't as hectic. Aja Priscilla said, I learned that collaborating is best for resolving conflicts. Yay, that's really good. I'm going to say the strategies in managing conflict. And Tony said, I understand that communication barriers can be caused by semantics and others. Beautiful. So we could also still get need for a communication plan from Oluwafunmilayo. Williams. Hmm, interesting. Fisayo said, I got more knowledge on communication and various aspects of conflict resolution. Hmm, okay. Okay, communication involves both parties understanding each other, actively listening. Hmm, that's very nice of you to say, Sarah Kutu. Otis Pressure said conflict resolution is the settling of disputes between team members. Conflicts can occur between team members, stakeholders, project manager, and other departments. Somebody was in class. Welcome. Welcome and well done, Precious. I learned a lot about the different approach to resolve conflict from Ndu Kuba. Thank you. And then let's take two more. Bumilaya said Thomas Kilman matrix on conflict resolution. Thank you. Dola said, I learned there is no team without conflict. Ability to compromise and resolve amicably is what matters. That is really beautiful. I'm glad everybody was able to pick something. Temi Tope, I learned that collaboration strategy seems better and using it is better than using we is better than I and me. So, yes. So, let's go into today's slides, right? So, we'll do a brief recap before we go into communication before the network went all out and we had a communication barrier. We all naturally act or react to certain ways when faced with conflicts. There is no bad or wrong way. There are just ways that work better than others in certain situations. Okay, Stephen said, I learned that communication plan should be a dynamic document used for the management and control of planned communication and vehicle for leveraging benefits. Beautiful, beautiful. Everybody 10 over 10 from the points that you've been able to give. Very, very beautiful things you all have said. So under this, we were able to understand that there is no way that conflict cannot spring out of any project, of any team member, of any organization, of anything that you do. As far as people are involved, there is always going to be a chance that there will be conflict. And what is conflict itself? Conflict itself can be seen as a form of miscommunication, misunderstanding, and also a form of, or rather, a bridge or barrier in communication itself. So, conflict can also be man made and also be natural forces too, as well, right? Man made being the fact that you may not be able to understand some team members and people acting the way they do because it's a part of them. And then natural could be form of, maybe we could use what example can I use? Okay, we could say disagreements. We could say misunderstanding. We could say based on maybe inefficient supply or yeah. Thank you, Jimmy, for adding environment. Yes, thank you so much. Environment, misplaced trust from anybody involved in an organization or in a project. I have amazing people giving me pointers in class. Okay, Jimmy said environment. Modeling said misconception of an action. Thank you. Toby Loba said communication is a major tool for a productive team. Okay. Akinwale said, good evening, wonderful team members, and you are all welcome to tonight's class. Oh, okay, okay. So yes, environment, misconception of action, which is also a form of miscommunication, and the likes of them. So in the next slide, we said, thank you, Jimmy, misunderstanding of information task. Conflict resolution in project management involves identifying, addressing, and resolving disputes or disagreements that arise during a project. Conflicts can occur between team members, stakeholders, project managers, and team members. Project manager and stakeholders, different departments and organizations. Okay, so my amazing project managers added some other points: misconception and divergent views, premonitions too, and so many others. Thank you all for adding. So we have in the next slide, we have the Thomas Kilman has developed the following metric that explains the different strategies people use to manage conflict. And in the strategy, we explained, or rather, I explained interest in the other, which is all high and all low, and interest in oneself, which is low and also high. And under the lows, we have avoiding for both low interest in oneself and low interest in the other, avoiding the problem or avoiding the conflict. And in the same high, we have forcing, collaborating, or problem solving and accommodating. Under accommodating, it is the facts whereby you and your team members are having issues amongst themselves, and you decide to see how you can downplay the situation to make sure that everybody works together harmoniously. Right, harmoniously. Yes, in the sense that you look for a way to make it seem like it was just a simple issue that shouldn't be seen in so much depth and should be something that shouldn't tarnish the relationship between team members and the project itself. Then we have collaborating and problem solving. Most of the times, why people tend to have conflict is because of there is no togetherness, there is no unity, there is no bond, there is no trust ethic, there is no um, office culture that balances everything. So most of the time, the easiest way to solve conflicts can be collaborating or problem solving issues or projects that make sure that everybody is in a team, everybody is involved, and everybody is giving their own best in order to solve a problem or in order to help see that the project reaches its optimum goal. And then we have forcing. Forcing is a solution impose one will or the other. Forcing is all time high too. It depends on the strategy on how you enforce. Enforcing doesn't mean you have to be dominant. You have to be not dominant in a wrong way or harsh or um, forceful to persons. It just means that you enforce those team members to work together. You make them collaborate in a way that they cannot be flexible about it. They have to work together in order to make sure that everything reaches a good percentage or good they are able to bring in a good capacity to the team members or to the team or project at large. And then avoiding is denying the problem ever exists and just moving on, right? It may be hard, it may be a bit demeaning to you as a person, but be rest assured that if you are able to see things as nothing, right, as far as it's the negative that will drag you down, I would really advise you to just twat it away and just be happy and just go on with your day, right? Welcome Joy, welcome to class. And we have compromising. The compromise is a box on its own that links all of them. Compromise as a skill is where is as a skill in project management that is that um is that power, that empathy to be able to put others' needs above yours, and making sure that it will be able to it will be something that will lead to harmony and um, peace, right? Or bring in good report for the team and yourself as a project manager. Compromise shouldn't be a situation whereby you lose, but compromise should make you feel that okay, it is still a win-win for everybody. You do not have to make decisions that solely benefit you, but solely benefits everybody too as well. So compromise is one of the best skills for me or best methodology when using the Killman's theory or Killman's strategy. So we have when possible, do try to collaborate with team members and give surprising and due to collaboration it gives surprising results, and in any case the conflict will disappear into thin air, replaced by a common problem to solve. When people tend to collaborate, they tend to find some form of solace, some form of want and need. They don't feel like they are in a box. They feel that, yeah, they feel that they um they are seen, they are heard, and some people might even go to the extent of feeling that you were being favorites with some persons when just that these persons were just giving in their best and you were just, applauding them for their good work. So collaborating with persons or making everybody collaborate with themselves is just a way of just creating bonds among team members and making sure that there is some form of unity and proper teamwork amongst team members. So David had a point to add, forcing cause you have more interest in your own will than others. Forcing because you have more interest in your will than others, so you don't care about what they feel. You just lord over them and force them to follow your instructions, right? Yes. Forcing, you don't have to, you don't, when forcing, um, you're not supposed to be selfish even when you're forcing. You're supposed to put the other person's consideration into mind, right? And it's not a form of you lording. I'm sure you've had there are persons that have this skill of enforcing people to do things, not in a harsh way, but in a much more lenient and much more um, less demeaning manner. There is a way that I can enforce you to do something. Like, for example, if we're in a team together and maybe you have conflict with your other team member. Let's say, David, you have problems with Caleb. Welcome to class, Caleb. Let's say you have problems with Caleb, and I say, okay, this conflict or this mutiny that both of you have grown to have amongst yourself, I will hereby direct both of you to work on this project. I need both of you to give me reports as a team every Wednesdays and Fridays, and I need to see daily reports. It doesn't need to be as bulky as that of Wednesdays and Fridays, but I need you both to give me reports. Today you give me reports, tomorrow you give me reports. You, David, give me a report, and then tomorrow Caleb gives me a report. And that report has to be in unison whenever you are going to pitch it to me on Wednesday. And if there is a missing information that is not even in the report, but you people are able to be on the same page when you're giving it to me in the meetings, I fully understand that, yes, at some point in time, you people have been able to open up to each other and trust yourself with some informations. And even though it's not in the report both of you worked on, it could have been something you missed out but was able to back each other up. Even from there, there are times that I know that this person didn't really do much, but this person will be willing to back the other person up. So enforcing isn't really you using harsh tones or you lording over them. It's just you actually putting their best interests at heart and you trying to make sure that they are working together in a serene space that is not toxic and is a space whereby they can be self-respect, they can be worth from each individual, and everybody is just having a very good time at their job. Because when you have low emotional intelligence in a workspace, or when you constantly have conflict, it tends to ruin the whole space. Everybody, what there could be teams from there, people start having cliques or groups and alliances are made, and before you know it, it's a full-on problem. So you start handling the problem from when it's little. I hope I answered you, David. So Cassie say, oh, hi, Cassie, welcome to class. We have quiz tomorrow, and I don't know if you can do quick recap for the previous topics. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Stephen said, it may not necessarily mean you don't care for others. Rather, it could be as a need to stand your ground for what you perceived as in the overall interest and best for the team and project. Yes, Stephen, thank you for that. So that was in the last slide, sorry. So communication, right? We had communication barrier in the last class, so let's do all of that today. Communication is the oil that helps the wheel of a project and any organization turn smoothly. We never communicate enough, and rarely do we communicate as consistently as we ought to. The problem with communication is that everyone does it more or less well, and we all expect and assume that the messages get through. The problem is that there are many barriers, filters in the communication process: the semantic problems, of feedback, improper channels, physical distractions, status effects, and differences. Sorry, and cultural differences. So when we say absence of feedback, when communicating, how is communication supposed to be passed? Communication is supposed to be passed as raw data, processed, and you know given back, right? But in human form, communication is you receiving data, understanding, and also giving back data. Right. So what happens when you give out data and it's being processed and it's not returned back? You too as well have insufficient data to be able to make the next decision or the required decision that you need to make, right? So absence of feedback is very important when it comes to project management and when it comes to communication. Most of the time you tend to get team members that, even though there is a deadline that has been elaborated on or explained that by this time this project need to turn in your project at this time or at this period of time or at this day or whatever deadline it may be. Most of the time some persons will not meet up to deadline, and if you do not ask, right? If you do not ask, what seems to be the problem? Why were you not able to give back? Why were you not able to process? Why were you not able to give me an update on why you were not able to meet up to deadline? If I decide to be a unapologetic and nonchalant project manager, I could just say, okay, for you not meeting up with the deadline and you not communicating what the issue may be because it means nothing to you, I'm going to take the responsibility of telling HR that this will be deducted from your pay for the month, or you are slacking and I'm going to give you a query, or because of this, I am going to tell you that you were suspended, right? So when there is no feedback or update, let's say this person had an accident and was not able to communicate it to me. I have just removed a person from he or she's livelihood, or I have, or let's say the person was not able to finish to meet up to deadline because he or she had a family crisis, or why the person was not able to do it was maybe because he or she, her PC or his PC got missing, and this was not communicated to me. So insufficient data and absence of response or feedback is very important. It helps you to make good decisions, hence why you need to be a very good listener and also be willing to understand from every other person's point of view, from everybody's point of view, before making your judgment on anybody. I asked the questions in the last class. Unfortunately, you were unable to attend to it due to network glitch. Can ethnicity and language barrier be included under the barriers of effective communication? Uh, yeah, I feel like language can be a very big barrier, and yeah, ethnicity too can also be a barrier too if there is no open-mindedness in the team, or there is no level of understanding amongst team members. So yes, that could also be a problem. Stephen. Thank you, Tina. I will do that. um so yes, let's move to the next point, which is improper channels. We explained about how it's important for you to use the most important and necessary softwares or apps in order to be able to have effective and smooth communication, like the likes of Slack, emails, instead of using letters, or instead of using WhatsApp, even though they're trying their best to be professional too as well, it doesn't give that professional feel. You could also use Teams and the likes of them, Google Meet for meetings, and so many other things. Oluwafumi said ego can also be a barrier. That's funny, but it depends on the kind of person. Yes, whatever you feel is negative and hinders communication, yes, then that could also be put as a barrier of communication. And then we have cultural differences in the sense that we all come from different places, we all come from different backgrounds. I come from the north, you come from the west, she comes from the east, and he comes from the south. Our upbringing might be different. From my end, we could be more reserved. Abigail Essien, yes. We can also use Discord. Yes. We could all have different forms of communication. In my side, we do not we try our best to refrain from physical contact when greeting, while there are some that you have to kneel or you have to bend to show some form of respect, while there are some that you have to hug each other in order to in order to form some form of in order to show some form of um homeliness, and this may come in different to other persons and other groups. So cultural difference plays a very important role when it comes to communication barriers too as well. Understanding that the person comes from a different background as you also helps too as well. Okay, I did Gigi. You asked a question. How do you intelligently handle an issue with your superior who is fond of shifting blames on his or her subordinate? Well, is this something that you have spoken to your boss that you feel is a problem? And in for me, in situations like this, uh, I really do not want to say, but sometimes most of these kind of things could be maybe the person is pressured or insecure. I don't know. I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth, but yeah, the person could just maybe not know how to handle the situation and may just be passive to um, problems that arises instead of taking ownership and responsibility. But if that is the person's character, I'm really sorry you have to go through that. The best way to just do to cope with that, I feel, is just to just learn to avoid the issue, to just learn to avoid the issues whenever it happens, or you can reach out kindly to your boss and just explain that it's unfair and it's something that should be, handled from his own end, or you can report to HR. Always report to HR. HR will be able to um communicate it properly than you will be able to do. Yeah. Do you have a lot as a project manager? Do you have a lot going for him or her? I really did not understand this question, Ijo. So, in the next slide, it says, oh, I think I skipped a slide. Sorry. So effective communication is critical to the success of the project. Communication not only provides stakeholders with key information and milestones, it also creates a dialogue among stakeholders, surfacing pockets of resistance and building commitments to the project. When the level of change to the organization increases as a result of the implementation of a standard system, the amount and depth of communication must also increase. So, pretty much, conflict is very important too in this point. Um, in this point that it says about stakeholders. Sometimes, with stakeholders, you tend to agree to disagree and disagree to agree sometimes, because if there is um, no conflict, like for example, I will always use pebbles or tiles or wood or user interface. Let me use user interface this time around. Sometimes you could, for a product designer, for a product, right? Let's say the UI UX designer is involved in the stakeholder meeting, and let's say the interface is in white, is in cream white, let's say, instead of black. Um, there could be a form whereby the stakeholders are like, oh, they do not like it in black, they want it in white. And the team could say people tend to prefer white screens rather than black screen. And the stakeholder could say, no, we want it black, we don't paying for this, blah, 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 blah. There could be a form of back and forthness, right? So the UI UX designer could just say, okay, instead of us pacing back and forth on what we feel is best for this and best for that, why not let us give this the um the users two options, either to pick a black screen or a white screen. I could include the future whereby they could have dark screen mode or light screen mode, right? And that is a solution to a problem, and that has also taken the the app or software or project to another or all-time high, right? So conflict too sometimes may not be necessarily bad. It could also help to have positive impact on a project. On time, yet complains that you're always unproductive. Oh my goodness, a lot of you have been complimenting about how to deal with bosses and all. I really can't give you all the best um advice, but I just really I try my best to be also very nonchalant when I notice that persons are harsh or rude or have a way of just being, you know, unbearable. Myself, what I usually do is that I just twat it, I smile, and I just still make them my friends regardless, because or still have a healthy um space with these persons. Because if you are angry with somebody or you wake up every morning thinking of this unbearable person, trust me, you are not going to have a healthy work life. Your work life will be very draining. It will down your spirit. It could affect your health. It could affect your mental health. So I just do my best to ignore and go on with the rest of my day, because giving the person the power to uh, control your emotions really isn't the best thing that you can do to yourself as a person. All right, it's not really the best thing you can do to yourself as a person. And if you cannot stand being in that place, you could always request to change your department or something like that. So within this context, the term communications includes providing factual information, requesting information or contributions from key individuals, offering viewpoints and opinions, seeking clarification, raising issues, or asking straightforward questions, and providing information, comments, or suggestions as requested, seeking public support and commitment from key people and stakeholders. I used to have this colleague that always tells me that never be the silent one in the room. Yes, um, be watchful, take pointers, notice what is going on in the room, but always make sure to also put input as well in a room, because your presence being there isn't just for you to just sit down looking pretty. Your presence being there is also to have impact and also to increase um, level or productivity. And that's how you put yourself out there. It's also supposed to boost your confidence and help with your communication skills and your speaking skills too as well. You may fumble and fall the first 2 to 3 times, but if you consistently do that, you're training yourself to be able to even speak publicly. So Adedeji replied a question. I think Stephen answered the question of Adedeji. You can just look for an appropriate time when the boss is a bit off stress and in a good mood, and have one-on-one discussion with him. I'll recommend at the end of a successful project. Thank you, Stephen, for that insightful point that you gave too as well. So, and whenever you want a change, there is a lot of communication problems in a lot of persons' offices or workspace. I'm really sorry about that. Uh, but I'll answer that. Let's try and see how we can get the class covered at some point. So another pointer is providing factual information. When providing factual information, it means that everything you're giving back to the team have to be facts, have to be accurate, and cannot be anyway compromising or um, false or untrue. You have to make sure that everything you're saying has depth, and everything you're saying is something that is true and can be defended, right? That can be defended too. And then we have requesting information or contribution from key individuals. Like I said, always make sure to speak out. And if you're a project manager too as well, always make sure that everybody speaks out. Because even those persons that claim to be shy, they also have something to say. So always make sure that everybody in your team can be able to speak out and be able to voice out what is in their head or ideas that are in their head. When you do this, you're putting them in a good light. They may feel like you're putting eye for them, but you're not really putting eye for them. You're just helping them to improve their communication skills and helping them to have confidence in themselves too as well. So seeking public support and commitment from key people and stakeholders. You can always try to reach out to as well to stakeholders, clients, and all persons that are even above you in a project that you're handling, and always ask them for their own insight and their own feedback. You're doing this because of them, so you would really want to know what exactly you're doing right and what you think you're not doing right. So in the next slide, we have communication should include speaking, opportunities for managers, informal communications, face-to-face discussions, scheduled meetings, and orchestration of senior management and ad hoc. Communications as well as formal methods such as memos, notice boards, emails, and newsletters. So I explained how it's important for you to use the right channels when it comes to formal communication. Um, because of how formal it may be, there's sometimes when you read some people's mail, you may think this person is rude, this person is harsh, but unnecessarily, the person is not being harsh, the person is just being professional. And like I said, if it were to be in, let's say, WhatsApp, somebody could just come into your DMs and be like, oh, hey, how are you? What's up? I need your help with this. I need your help with that. So, can you please help me with this? Can you please help me with that? At this point, you're saying please, you're begging for the person to do his or her job. But if it's professionally, like an email or a memo, you state it straight. Hello, hope you're doing well. I need you to do this. I need feedback on this. I need an update on this. What is your insight on this? And I need it ASAP before the deadline of the project or the deadline of the tax. So the channel you use, the person also understand that the person is being professional, unnecessarily rude. Because if you should come into somebody's DM on WhatsApp and you're like, hey, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. I need your help on, no, not I need your help on this. I'm sorry, I'm even using WhatsApp form of begging. Need an update on this. I need you to submit it by 10:30 and do have a nice day. Cheers or regards, Nancy. If you send that to somebody through WhatsApp, the person's like, okay, what's this? Why are you talking like this? But if the person sends in an email, it holds some depth. This person is being formal and it's a job. It's not all the time we're meant to be informal with each other. And for the fact that you also have to do this with senior managers, you also have to leave some form of respect too as well for your bosses, because why would you want to just come into my DM as my, let's say, subordinate and just come using hello hi thing? Your boss may be very cool and understanding and lenient, but ethically and professionally, you're still supposed to do the right thing and communicate to them with respect, like you know what you're doing and you're not just working on or leveraging on relationship. You're working with them because that is the right way to work with them. So yeah, and then I'm sorry, I was not able to reply a lot of persons' questions. I think a lot of persons were asking questions. Um, so somebody said something about not taking what's it? Taking decisions without her, and she won't answer on time, yet complains that you're always unproductive. Okay, Afolabi, you said you take decisions without telling your boss, and she won't answer on time, yet complains that you're always unproductive. Hey, I'm sorry about that. That took it out of me. So the thing with most of these persons, right, is that if you know that you don't have the authority to make some decisions without maybe whoever is in charge, what I'd advise you to do is that you could always flood their um emails or whatever form or medium you use in communicating with your boss, and be like, hello, there is a pressing matter. I need your insight on this. You don't need to be like, hi, hello, ma'am. Hi, hello, how are you doing? No, sometimes even from the fact that I'm just seeing you send me hi, 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 hello, 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 hello. I'm not going to also answer to that. So whenever you do that, I feel like it's very important for you to know how to just communicate professionally. Just be, hello, ma'am. I need your help on this. I need quick insight on this. I need it for a decision to be made. And if she doesn't reply to it, you can always put a call through. You can always put a call through. If she doesn't reply the call, then you can just kindly tell the person that, can you give me 30 minutes to 1 hour? I promise to revert back. If you know this is constantly putting you in a terrible spot with your boss, you can always just try to just walk around them or walk with them to understand why they act the way they do. I have a boss that you will send her a message or a mail, and you have to call her and be like, oh, I sent you a mail. And she'll be like, oh my goodness, I haven't seen it, blah, blah, blah. It has been hours since you sent me the mail. I've been busy. So I also understood that she's a person that is not always available, and she's much more responsive when it comes to phone calls than me sending her mails or text. So if I need something urgent, if it's very urgent that I know I need her response on it ASAP, I call her. And if she doesn't pick, I still make sure that I still leave a note for her to see the urgency of it. And I do my best do to still attend to the issue at hand, where I know my strength cannot continue, or where I know I'm not certain of what I'm not certain of. I then leave that gap for her to be able to come and fill it up for me. Right. So yes. Stephen said also your boss may have a lot on his hands to handle, so it's advisable to go straight to the point of a timely response, which is very true. Very true. You don't know how many people are texting your boss. You don't know how many people are calling them. So the best thing you can do is just go straight to the point. I will never reply a message that says hi or hello, ma'am. I will never. I'm sorry. I would always like you to say hello, ma'am. How are you? I hope you're doing well. That was just for formality's sake. I need your attention to this, that. And then if I can reply you, I'll be like, oh, thank you so much. I'll revert back to you. Or give me some minutes, I'll get back to you on this. Those hello hi, hello hi, hello hi, or calling. It gets exhausting because at some point you will feel drained. So you just don't even have the time for chit chat at some point. So David said, I know a certain boss who need detailed communication. They want you to tell them everything and fill them in on every step, while some actually want you to take decisions and not bother them every time. It depends. There are some bosses that believe that you have been in the system or they have trained you enough for you to be able to make decisions that does not need or necessarily need to involve them. That means that at this point in time, they trust you to some levels to make the right decision. And then for those that want you to take them amongst every step, those are very meticulous persons that feel the need to be carried along, so that they can also give you so that they can also give good reports back, because as you're reporting to them, they're also reporting to somebody, right? As you're reporting to them, you're also they're also reporting to somebody. Oh, ad hoc. Who is asking that? Ad hoc means um impromptu, or when necessarily needed, when something is of high priority, like, or someone that is of high priority. Okay, guys, we're supposed to be taking our attendance now. So, yeah, you can do that while we go on a short break. What? Yeah. To be true, I use both approach for my subordinates. I know the one I have mentored over time and they get me, but others I make sure I get carried along. No going straight. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to class. I hope we all have submitted our attendance. So, welcome back. Thank you. So, I saw Great Minds added a contribution to the class that empathy and perception matters. Recognizing your boss's personality, values, and priorities help you align your actions with what matters most to them. Okay, welcome Stella, welcome Priscilla, welcome everyone. And yeah, that was a very great point. Thank you, Stephen. Welcome back. So let's move to the next slide. Shall we? So a communication plan. A communication plan should both be a dynamic document used for the management and control of planned communications, and also a vehicle for leveraging benefits from unplanned but equally important events. The management of such events is eased by clarity of understanding as to the progress of the project as a whole, the difficulties being encountered, and steps being taken to address such issues. The stronger and more robust the communications base, the greater the chance to secure a clarity of purpose and a common understanding of progress within a project such as this. Welcome, Akinwale. So, this is just to tell you the importance of a communication plan. A communication plan is meant to be clear. It's meant to be able to evoke or revoke um, miscommunication and barriers and conflicts as well. The more stronger or the more clear and understandable, readable that your communication plan is, the more chance that productivity, effort, and seamless work and teamwork would be sufficing in or would show results in your project. The more clearer, the more understandable, the more easier it is for everybody. There's nothing that is ever hard. You just maybe haven't really understood it properly, or you haven't really heard it and understood it properly. So communication or read it and understood better. So your communication plan as a project manager has to be clear, has to be precise, has to be understandable, has to be sorry, readable. It's not just you writing, it's not just you drafting, it's not just you using a template. It's something that even the layman himself with or somebody with good background, even the Jesse should be able to understand. Right? It's supposed to be as easy and comprehensible as possible. Though with the terminologies that everybody understands, right? To make your work seem more professional. So in the next slide, it says feedback and monitoring of communication is key to the whole process as this makes the activity a two-way process whereby questions can be raised and answered rather than a one-way tell them approach. It is essential to ensure that the reality of the communication strategy between two-way is demonstrated on a regular basis by responding efficiently to questions and suggestions publicly and by using an interactive tool such as the internet. Monitoring of communications is important to assess whether the message intended are actually being received by the workforce and other key stakeholders or groups. So under feedback and monitoring, like we said, how it's very important to get feedback and to don't worry, Remy, I'll answer a question. Let me finish this, right? I'll answer that question. Feedback and monitoring of communication is key because the moment you start working based on just your ideology, you may leave a lot of people behind and you may be leading people astray too as well. So the importance of always getting feedback from your team members, from yourselves, from each other, stakeholders, just always making sure to get feedback, just making sure to get updates from each and every person. It is very, very important. Very, very important in project management. You may even notice that in project management, the major thing you're doing aside from planning is communicating. You're communicating with a lot of people. You have to know where is the stats, where they are lagging behind, where they're where your expertise is needed most, and where you're supposed to be much more active and vibrant with your team members. So the two-way approach is always important. And just because you always need reports and feedback doesn't mean that you cannot give back or reports to. You are likewise to also give them feedback. Oh, I got your report and you did a very great job. Well done. I think you should do this much better the next time. Or, well done. You did pretty well. I'm pretty amazed. This means that we can move to the next step seamlessly. Always make sure to give back feedback to everything. And it can be overwhelming, but it's your job at this point to do that. So, monitoring of communications is important to assess whether the messages intended are actually being received by the workforce and other keys. Hence, the proper communication pipelines that you're going to be using. Emails, Slack. I really like using Slack because, like, when you send a message, it shows that okay, this person has read it and is supposed to give back a feedback. And then there are also like alarms that you could set to the person so that the person can, even the person comes online and is not, has not been active, will be able to see that urgency of that call or missed call or missed FaceTime or whatever you choose to do to make them to alert them that oh, I really need you to attend this, or oh, and then you can also call out persons in a group, in a group or in a team. Yes, you can always call out, and it just has a way of just storing a whole conversation, or yeah, it has a way of just storing a whole conversation, and so many people can be in the conversation and it still looks professional and clean. I just like the interface. So yeah, I like the interface and I like the experience of that. So also helps make work easier. Then in the next slide is the communications process needs to be sufficiently flexible to adapt to the changing needs of either the sources or the receivers of information. This is particularly the case with this project where there will be a need to communicate across and within departments. Hence the need of having a proper flow of communication or channel of communication. Most of the time, like how I said, I prefer using Slack because like there is general, there is subgroups or sub teams, and then you can also talk to persons personally. The other softwares, like Teams and the likes of them, even Google too as well has that. But yeah, I just feel much more used to Slack, but it has a way of and also Jira too. Yeah, but Jira pretty much just has more of milestones, tasks. It's just very direct. It's just very very professional, whereby you can pin in calendars, have brief communications or brief notes and the likes of them. So for example, most of the time, if you notice, if you use Slack, there are different departments. There could be different departments, and each department have their own like sub teams. And using a channel like Slack, you can easily just always check in on every other department, call out whoever you need to, and it has a way of still securing files, memos or minutes that you might have sent to the group, really in a very professional setting. So use softwares or apps that allows you to flexibly move and communicate with team members, stakeholders, and and other departments. And hence, you can still also have like a group for each stakeholder. For you can have a group for stakeholders and clients too as well, whereby in those groups it's just the stakeholders and maybe some particular maybe head of departments or whoever that you feel should be involved in that project. And it still has a way of being private because there's always this lock. If you're not invited, you don't have access, but you could see it. And it depends on you too if you want to make it private or public. So yeah, Slack. But there are other, you know, softwares that you can use that are also very easy and nice for communications too as well. Thank you. Welcome, Emosu. Right, comfort, they should. So this communication plan includes the infrastructure for dissemination of information through the departments involved, the allocated responsibilities, and the accepted timetable of events. So, like for some of the tools you can use when it comes to setting of meetings or calendar, you could use simple apps like even Google Calendar too as well. Google Calendar is like one of the most easiest for me, I think. You can always pin in your calendar and always add people if you have their emails with descriptions on what the meeting is going to be, how it's going to be with time, and you have the ability to make it private or public. So just make sure that if you're going to plan, you should plan properly and have the necessary information you need of everybody so that it can be seamless too for you. And you could also in like Google, you could also Google Calendar, you could also put in your calendar, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a meet. You could still just put like reminders and all and still add someone's email or whoever, which of your team members email that should be aware of this tax, get an alarm, or and also he or she also gets an alarm to know that this deadline is important and you need to have this by this time. So you can always set alarms prior to the time too as well, or days too as well, to remind them of the urgency of it all, right? So I've just been telling you important softwares you could be using or apps that you can be using too as well. So in the next slide, we have this communication plan is a living document and as such will evolve over time and is made up of a number of key outputs which together form a detailed communication plan. We have number one, which is communication goals, two, communication strategy, three, people involved, 4, themes, messages, and information. 5, communication channels. 6, roles and responsibilities. 7, key success factor. For communication goals, you need to properly state what the goal is. By the end of the third month, by the third month of this project A, we should be able to have brought out a proper active software, or we should have been able to um, fully finish the construction site, or we could have fully be done with the setup for this event, right? So that's the communication goal. Communication strategy. How are we going to do it? Where, when, at what time? Who are the necessary people we need? What are the necessary plans that need to be taken? What steps need to be taken? Which methodology are we using? Are we using agile? Are we going to go with hybrid? How flexible can this project be? How easy can this project be? What are the challenges that we may face coming on this project or while being in the project? And then for people involved, these are your team members, stakeholders, clients, suppliers, researchers, all the persons involved in the project. We have theme, messages, and information, necessary information that they're supposed to have, confidential report or files that they need to have suck in all the information that they need for the project, persons they need to know in the project, persons that they need to communicate with, persons, people that they need to communicate with, and people that do not need to necessarily be in that project. Then we have communication channels, like I said. We have Slack, we have Jira, we have Google Apps, we have so many softwares. We have the Gantt chart, we have Excel, we have so many softwares that you can use. And then we have roles and responsibilities. This is detailed explanation on everybody's roles and what they're supposed to be doing, when they have supposed to be done with it, and deadlines, timelines, time frame, and reports, and so on. So, key success factors. What are the strategies that we are to take in order to be able to reach the success of this project, to get optimum success in this project? What are the challenges that we are meant to overcome? And what are the ideas that will make us look or be more unique in this project? I'm glad you're on board, Tosin. Tosin says Slack makes communication really easy. One of my favorite apps. I'm glad. So, in the next slide, where's the slide? Okay, in the next slide, this is the template for a communication plan. We have the communication what, we have purpose, frequency or duration. We have communication to team slash stakeholders and communication method. Thank you, Stella. I appreciate you too. So we have where you're going to input everything. Your text here, your text here, your text here. How what am I communicating? Are we communicating materials? We could use materials purpose in order to build or in order to create. Frequency slash duration 3 to 5 days. Communication to team. Team A, maybe you've divided them to two teams. Team A are supposed to be handling materials, or team B should be handling research of perfect suppliers or should be procuring. And then stakeholders, um, feedback to stakeholders that should be done by the end of the day by myself, or should be done by the end of the week by myself. And then communication method. What am I using? Am I using Jira? Am I using Slack? Am I using Trello? Yeah, the likes of them. So, yeah. And then our next slide is communication goals. The communication goals for the project are to build awareness among all employees about the project, the business case, why now, the scope, and high level timeline, impact and value to the organization, integration, okay, integration with other existing initiatives. And then we have to build understanding among key sponsors and senior management about the project, setting the stage for commitment to expected changes and the typical commitment curve. Note that at each point there is the risk of failure. Okay, Linda, definitely you're going to get an invite. Do not worry. You will do that. So, so we're going to talk about communication strategy. The reason for the communications element of a project is to enhance the overall success of the project. It is not communication for communication's sake, nor is it going through the motions of informing people because that is the normal thing to do. Instead, it is a fundamental enabler, sorry, in the change process and the prime method of gaining commitment for essential stakeholders and sponsors to the initiatives. For this reason, a number of objectives have been established that extend beyond merely formal communications. So, a lot of people might say, oh, what is the point of communication? But we have crossed that level of understanding that communication at this point is a necessity, it is a criteria, and it is not just because of your writing, it is because of you want to create awareness, you want to have a report, and you documenting your process. You documenting the process just helps make your work easier and helps make you remember a lot of things better. Because if you don't pen it down, there's a high chance you're going to forget about it. So, and it helps make you look more organized and more professional as a project manager. So, communication strategy objectives to demonstrate effective and consistent leadership of change within the project and within the organization, which includes personal commitment from senior people in their roles as leaders of change, and also to ensure that everyone who needs to know about the progress of the project and its aims are clearly and effectively communicated with the appropriate time. Ensure that key project communication events requiring support from the organizations are briefed in time to allow a full commitment from those designated to attend. So, Thank you so much, Stephen, for adding. Stephen said, so from your detailed explanation, effective inter and intra communication is a bedrock to overall success of not just the team, but all departments and organization as a whole. Very true. So to demonstrate effectiveness and consistent leadership, like I said, is one of the most important reasons of why you should have a communication strategy objectives. Because as a project manager, you're not just managing the project, you're also leading as well. And as a leader, you have to show some form of clarity and some form of or some level of understanding. You can't just lead people blindly. You have to have facts that they can trust and follow your leadership without um, without much problems or without much hassle. It should be able to be seamless for them to be able to understand the project and also to be able to have seamless understanding of the project. So we have to ensure that everyone needs to know about the progress and project and its aims at clearly and effectively communicated with at the appropriate time. So most of the time, if you're working on a project and you're not getting feedback, you yourself it could even lower your morale. So as a project manager, you're also supposed to update everybody, stakeholders, team members, department, organization, whoever you're meant to be reporting to or you're working with, so that they could know the level of state that they're in. They're involved in the project. It's also decent that you also let them know how far and how good and where we are at in the project. So the third is ensure that key project communication events requiring support from the organization are briefed in time to allow a full commitment for those designated to attend. You cannot just spring up things on people. You have to plan, which is one of the important things of project management. You have to plan and you have to communicate that plan properly. You cannot just tell a stakeholder, oh, we're having a meeting today, and expect that that stakeholder did not have other things to do that day, or you don't have, or you don't speak to a client and tell him, oh, we're about to have a meeting in the next hour to update you about. That is terrible. That is that is like you sabotaging yourself. You're supposed to let them know 2 days, 2 days at least before the day of the meeting. Or you have a fixed day that everybody knows that on this day there's supposed to be a follow-up meeting or an update meeting with the stakeholders or clients. So teacher Koi Koi, I didn't really understand what the question is. Did you ask a question? Because I didn't see any of that. I didn't see the previous one. So for the second slide, we have assist the formulation and organization of key message due for release to the business as such key events. Assist in the management and moderation of the methods of delivery for all key messages. Provide templates to ensure all messages emanating from the project are communicated in a consistent and professional manner. Ensure key messages assist in building support in the organization for the proposed process, changes, and generate enthusiasm for implementation. Ensure all feedback received, verbal or otherwise, is captured and linked in the ongoing project process. To leverage the benefit of effective regular communication between the project team and the line managers. Oh, sorry. To leverage the benefits of if sorry to ensure all feedback received, verbal or otherwise, is captured and linked to the ongoing project process. To leverage the benefits of effective regular communication between the project team and the line managers. To provide early and effective responses to inaccurate and potentially damaging rumors for whatsoever source to inform key audiences what needs to be achieved by when and by whom and with what support, to inform people of the project progress, including successes and problems, and to provide feedback mechanisms to allow interested stakeholders to ask questions and to make suggestions about the project and to raise issues that are important to them. And then we have to limit any disruption to normal operations by ensuring a clarity of understanding as to what will be expected of people, when and to what purpose or ends. And we have to access and monitor the effectiveness of project communications. So, the summaries to disseminate timely, honest, and clear communications associated with the effective and efficient introduction and implementation of the new processes and system. By doing this, the plan will contribute significantly to securing the active continuation of the project by sustaining the support of key senior sponsors and leaders of change. For the next slide, which should be last, is the following information should be regularly communicated according to the communications timetable. Department name and role, scope and timeline, key milestones, events, status, and accomplishments, impact and value of to the organization and stakeholders, their key role in the change process, integration with other existing initiatives, and overview of the project. So, yeah, this is the last slide. Yeah, this is the last slide. We are pretty much done with communication, which I hope we all were able to understand. And regardless, you will still get um the slides, you still get the materials, you still get access to have these materials for your perusal, and you can still always make sure to rewatch it here on YouTube. So, yeah, we are done with today's class. We can take like one or two questions before one so that we can close early today before the time. Thank you, Olaide. Don't worry, the slides will be shared to you guys in your groups through the team members, through our able team members. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Chooks. So, Biloba, you answer um based from what you understand and how we communicated it to you. Just make sure that you give the right answers, but you could use your own words too. But some of them are they're not really tricky. You've been in the class, so you'll be able to do fine. Thank you, guys. So I think we don't have any questions for today. So that means we can all log out. Oh, sorry, Oluwakemi. I Pray for a quick recovery for you. Thank you, Toby Loba. Well, guys, okay, Jeffta asked a question. Please, Jeffta, what was your question? Let me check. I can't find Jeffta's question. What happens when communication is one way, especially when your boss doesn't listen to you? Oh my goodness. We're back to bosses. Oh, um, communication is not meant to be one way, naturally. It's never meant to be one way. If it's one way, then I would advise that you look for a much more strategic way to talk to your boss in a way that, or you just understand what the person or what your boss is much more responsive to. Have you tried calls? Have you tried doing feedbacks? Have you tried mails? Have you tried even WhatsApp? Right. Yeah, so just understand their mode of communication. Do they prefer physical face to face meetings or which? Tina, how do you um treat colleagues who don't respond to urgent mails? Calls. You can also call. And if they don't attend to calls, is email the only channel you communicate with them? Okay, guys, I think we can log out today. Please have a wonderful day and have a great time, everyone. Bye. Oh my God.